No, tomorrow. The weather looks like golf. Actually, I did. Yeah. Nice. Friday, actually. Friends, having a. Wednesday's good. Can't play the front line because the MSD is fixing the dam. Anytime other than 2 to 3.
I saw that pipe stuff over there.
So that's.
I didn't even know there was water.
Hey, Bob. All right.
We are live, boss.
Thanks. It's already. This ought to be a short one.
I would think so. Mr. Hall? How are you?
I'll let you know.
Uh-huh.
She can't do that.
I got you. Oh, okay. I got you. Yeah, oh, yeah. Definitely.
Bring it back to December.
Waylaid.
Niece said 12 inches of snow they had in their backyard. And that was last week. They get handed again this week.
Ah, interesting.
It's the snow that they pick up.
Good evening, everyone. It's 7 o'clock. I'll call to order the City of Prospect, Kentucky regular council meeting. Today is Monday, November 18, 2024. First item of business is the approval of minutes. Those have been distributed. Are there any corrections or additions? If not, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
John Evans made the motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
John Clark seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Hi.
Opposed? Hi, Sarah. How are you?
Hi, you all. I wish I was there with you all. Not stuck in an airport.
We wish you were here too. So the minutes are approved. Comments from citizens. I don't think anyone signed up, but if anyone wants to raise their hand, I'll recognize them. Okay. The mayor's report. So I'm going to report briefly on 4 items: the recent election of Prospect City Council, the ongoing art exhibition in City Hall, a grant to the City of Prospect from the Prospect Ocean Rotary Club, and this weekend's Trail Bash in Harris Creek Park. First, I extend my congratulations to Sandra Leonard and Dr. Christian Furman on their election to the council. Dr. Furman's decision to seek a position on the council marked her first foray into elected politics. Sandra Leonard's return follows earlier terms as a member of the council. In addition to Sandra and Christian, I congratulate John Evans, John Clark, David Holmes, and Don Gibson on their reelection. I also extend my thanks to Frank Fulcher and Sarah Hines for their service to Prospect as members of the council. Frank and Sarah made substantial contributions to the city. I appreciate the positive spirit and friendly dispositions that both Frank and Sarah brought to the council. The current members of the council will serve until December 31, and the new council will begin its service on January 1, 2025. The second part of my report deals with the current art exhibition in City Hall entitled Painting, Photography, and Clay. That exhibition has been a big success. I extend my thanks to the exhibition chair, Janet Hayden, and to the entire Art and City Hall committee. The exhibition included an artist market that was held in the library on October 12 and 13, and the exhibition continues through January 5. Third, as I have previously reported, the Prospect Goshen Rotary Club has awarded a $5,000 grant to the city for the purpose of developing a program to increase the number of Prospect households that recycle. Abby Potter, a high school representative on the Parks Committee, and Bernie Stranecki, a member of the Rotary Club, have been active participants in this effort. Professor Jason Tolk, a Western Kentucky University professor who specializes in solid waste removal, will visit Prospect this Saturday with 2 of his students. The professor and his students will be working with Abby, Bernie, me, and other Prospect residents to develop a strategy to increase recycling in Prospect. Fourth, the Trail Bash will return this Sunday to Harrods Creek Park and will allow residents and visitors an opportunity to walk or run on the park's terrific trails. The event will also allow everyone a chance to traverse the park's new pedestrian bridge. We will schedule a date and time to dedicate the new bridge, and we'll keep everyone posted about that. The city extends its thanks to Tina Bevan for chairing this event and to the Parks Committee for its efforts. That concludes my report. Next item on the agenda is financial report. John Carter.
Today, I did receive the compiled financials and I emailed them out. They came in a little later this month, but they should be in your inbox if you have not seen them already. Quick summary of October's finances. So we roughly have 4.3 million in the bank, of which 4.1 million is invested with KLC Investments. That investment for the last 4 months has brought in approximately $58,000. As far as our revenue, we are at about just over the halfway point. We've produced about 65% of our income at this state, and we've spent about 41% of our expenditures. I was asked to update the council on the capital fund budget. As you know, the one project that's outstanding is the Harrods Creek Bridge, which this council appropriated $180,000 towards. We have spent all but $10,000 of that money currently. There is concrete being poured to both ends of the bridge. That expense is expected to be around $7,500. So we do anticipate coming under budget just a bit from what we had budgeted for that bridge. Overall, after that expense, or I'm sorry, the current balance of the capital fund project is about $132,500. And the road fund, restricted road aid, is we spent a portion of that road aid for the last paving. We decided to spend $120,000 of it. That leaves us a current balance of around $174,000. If you got any questions, I'll be happy to answer.
Any questions for John?
And while I have the mic, just want to bring up another matter that I mentioned to a couple council persons. I'm in the process, as some of y'all may know, this council in prior years has looked at an employee handbook that had been created in conjunction with my predecessor and the Kentucky League of Cities. And the status of that handbook is that it never was fully adopted. And what I have currently in place is a handbook that was adopted policy only by executive order, but there's several, all the financial elements of which are the council's responsibility have never been adopted. The situation is a little bit untenable for me as basically the default HR manager, because as we hire people, it's very confusing to try to document for them what their actual benefits and compensation are. As I had mentioned to a couple council members, we're getting to a point now where we're talking about hiring some additional police officers. We've lost a public works person, and so it's this issue sort of come to a head, and I would like to resolve it. And what I propose, and I propose to these council persons, is that I would take what hasn't been adopted, introduce it to you all for review, but also as part of what I'm introducing is documenting what occurs today. What I'm trying to do is document exactly what employees are being offered today, and I'm not taking from or giving anything in addition to what occurs today. I would like to have this adopted so that I have something to work with. Obviously, the council is free to do whatever they want at a future date or even now. But it would help me if the council would at least consider what I'm proposing here. Again, it's simply documenting what we do now, but what we do now is piecemeal through various orders and nothing that's compiled and coherent. So what I am doing today is I'm going to pass you out these sections that were not adopted. I've got a short synopsis of what each section is involved and also what sections I've changed. And I would ask that you review it, and I would hope that we can come back December with either a yay or a nay on a municipal order to adopt these changes. So I'll just pass this out. That's all I have to say about that.
Question.
Yes.
If it involves, as it appears to, expenditure of money, wouldn't we need to do it by ordinance?
A municipal order would be sufficient in this particular matter.
Any other questions for John?
I do. The employee manual, employee handbook that we received,
Yes,
working with the KLC,
yes.
is that the basis for this?
So if you look at the synopsis page that I gave you, I'll point out that the first three sections here, sections 3, 5, and 6 are unaltered from exactly what KLC had proposed.
Okay.
Section 7 has been changed, or I'm sorry, let me take that back. Sections 3, 5, 6, and 7 are unaltered. It's section 8 where I've tried to document, or I have documented the way that City Hall runs today and the benefits that are promised to police and administrative staff.
And it says the basis for the, what's in the new handbook or in the handbook that you're asking the council to consider comes from a series of municipal and executive orders. So I think he's just trying, I think what John's tried to do, I don't want to speak for him, but is to document what's in place through a series of orders and what we're actually doing.
Correct.
So John, quick
Yes.
question. On the sections that are unedited or unaltered, is that
Yes.
just shoring it up from past to what KLC has recommended? Is that kind of,
Well, some of this is basically legalese that we don't currently have in place. But because it involves finances of one way or another, it did require the council to adopt it. So some of it does not exist currently, but should. From a pure legal standpoint, we should adopt those sections, certainly.
okay, got it. So John, let me replay what I think I heard you say. So right now it might not be in our present handbook, but needs to be in our present handbook and aligns with KLC's recommendations.
Correct.
So we're
That
aligned.
is correct.
Okay, got it. Thank you. Okay, perfect. Thank you.
And I would invite the council members to contact John between now and the December meeting with any further questions. And certainly we can discuss this in more detail in December.
When
All
you
right.
say there's at least some legal aspects to it,
Yeah, just definitions.
we are,
And
so
such.
you're gonna review those.
Be glad to.
Okay.
All right. Next item on the agenda, commission and board reports, the forestation board report. Linda?
I think, as most of you know, October was a busy month for forestation. We had the Arbor Fest event on the October 19th. We gave away 75 trees. That's a record for, what we could do to help our citizens after the storm in the spring, and they're all gone. We are now in the middle of the canopy program. That's 18 trees that are bigger trees that will go in our community. And we've been working with the various residents to make sure that, the planting location is appropriate, the utilities are marked, and there aren't any issues. And just to show you how much people appreciate what we're doing, we got a thank you note for ArborFest from a resident. And I think that's just terrific that people are paying attention. So thanks to your support that we can keep doing the things that are important to us. So one of the biggest things we're working on right now is the problem with Bradford Piers and the landings. There's been a couple of cases that we have interacted with residents, and the trees are still there. And you look at them, yeah, they have leaves, but there are other signs that it's not a healthy tree, that there's rot inside. It could go at any time. One thing about Bradford pears, they were wildly popular at one point in time. And they're not a long-lived tree. Trees do age out. And there's a lady in the landings that we've been working with. She let us know at our meeting last week that there are 92 Bradford pear street trees in the landings. So it's not going to be an easy task. She doesn't have a lot in her yard. She said she was familiar with another neighbor that had 4 trees, and tree removal can be kind of expensive, and getting qualified people in to do the work. And I know Andrea has some good recommendations on people to work with. And she's also suggested to us that, any owners that have these potentially hazardous trees, that they do the work in the winter if they can, because they're not as busy, and usually you might be able to get more favorable pricing. So, we're going to be working on the Bradford pears and other programs that we get ready to do some more planting in the spring. So a lot of things going on, but overall, I think things have been going pretty well. So I don't know if you've seen some of the new trees going in, or you got a new tree. I know one of the council members is anxious to get his new tree. He's getting a canopy tree. So it's good news for everybody. So anything in particular you'd like to know about the forestation activities?
Any questions for Linda? Linda, thank you.
Okay, thank
Appreciate
you all.
your leadership and appreciate the work of the Forestation Board. So I'm looking at the agenda, and we approved the minutes of the last regular meeting, but this says we had a special meeting on October 15th. Do we need to approve those minutes also?
Yes.
I didn't thought you were doing both.
I didn't realize we were doing two. Let me ask for a motion to approve the minutes of the October 15th special meeting. Okay, there's a motion by Mr. Gibson. Is there a second? Second. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
And then I'll take the earlier vote as being on the regular meeting. So I think we're in good shape. Okay. Other reports, Parks Committee, Linda Wardell.
So I have a very short report tonight. I will say that I was in the park, in Heritage Free Park today, and the concrete work is done. The barriers have been removed. It looks great. So I'm very pleased that the concrete work for the bridge is completed just in time for the Harrods Creek Trail Bash, which is, as the mayor said, this Sunday. We are still taking signups. If anyone here wants to run, or know anyone that would like to run, you can go to runsignup.com and register, or you can arrive early on Sunday morning and sign up. The race starts at 8:30. So if you want to come and sign up to run on that morning, I would suggest you get there by 8 o'clock. We've got, hopefully the weather's going to be good. We're really happy that this race is back on this year. We were not able to have the race last year, so this is great to come back. The other thing I wanted to say, and I want to thank publicly Tina Bevan for her leadership in planning and preparing this run. She's been wonderful and has worked very hard to get everything in place. The other thing I wanted to mention is that last Saturday we had our Art for All event, and several people came to the library on Saturday morning and decorated wreaths. Sally Schneider and Lauren Becker planned the event and executed the event. They were the leaders on that. Lauren is an incredibly creative person, so she came up with the idea, and everyone had a great time. So I'm very happy to report that. The Parks Committee is going to take a hiatus. We are not going to meet in December, but we will be starting to plan new events in January. So I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Linda? Thank you, Linda. We appreciate
Thank you.
your work and the work of the Parks Committee, and we appreciate your report. All right, Jefferson County League of Cities.
October 23rd, Jefferson County students won back Jackson Bryan attended one bill house concept. There was about an hour discussion back and forth and some more concerns. He understands. Mr. O'Brien is asked by the city leaders to come up with a proposal by the end of this year. He will put that proposal to the planning board. The planning board make changes, modifications, and then they will make a proposal to Metro Council sometimes after April. Questions?
Questions for Don? Thanks, Don. Appreciate the report. Appreciate your work with the League of Cities. Police report.
Yes, sir.
Chief.
If you want to look, last month, besides a few certain things, it's pretty uneventful. We've refocused some of our efforts, working on some traffic details and traffic control. As you can see, the guys should be commended. The effort on the citations is way up. So they've really refocused their efforts. Started out some during October working on 42. We've moved back into the neighborhoods a little bit now, focusing on Fox Harbor, really just this week. We've sat the machine out in different locations. So if you know anybody who wants the machine out, we have a line now. So that we've been putting it out a little bit for more people are wanting it. So they can contact us anytime. We'll put it out. It helps us collect data for the things we're looking for. We have a meeting next week, an initial meeting with State Highway to work on getting a grant so that the guys will be able to focus on overtime outside of the regular hours. So that gives us a lot of help because manpower wise, we always can use something outside of our normal hours to do that. The week that Jeff left, we had another officer tearing Achilles. So it's like the perfect storm of things happening at the same time. So to lose two bodies at the same time on a small department is pretty rough. That beyond the fact we have a lot of mandated training this month. Just a few things to so people kind of understand. When you bring an officer back, which we brought back two, which would be Mike Thomas and Jim Cirillo from Metro, they have 2 weeks of mandated training that they have to be sent to within a year. Mike within less than that, 6 months. So they have to have that. You don't have a choice when they're gone. So they're gone this month for a total of 3 weeks. So I want to commend the guys because they've continued working hard, even though we've been very short. I've spent literally this entire month on nothing but making sure we get somebody hired. That is not a fun process right now because it's hard to hire police right now. I hope, and I'm a baseball fan, so I don't like to jinx myself. I hope that happens here pretty soon. So we'll see. But the guys have done a tremendous effort. And I want to thank them for doing that. So we spent the most of that month trying to work on hiring. Something real quick to talk about that happened not last month, but last weekend in the back of Hunting Creek Estates on the Oldham County section. The crew that comes in the vehicles that break into our vehicles in this area, out in Oldham County, this crew had already hit once. One of the residents back in the back of the neighborhood called a car alarm was going off. What happened was a group of the juveniles had gotten into a vehicle back there with the garage door opener, as we talked about this before. They got into the unlocked truck, got the garage door opener, opened the garage, were getting into the vehicle that had the keys inside a purse, inside the vehicle. As they're pulling out, Oldham County arrived. Our guys got there shortly after. The vehicle took off, got out of sight and got away from them. But that's just another example of things that we're going to be working on. We've got to get people to lock their vehicles. There's no other way around it. Definitely, if you're not going to lock it, for goodness sakes, do not leave your garage door in there as well. I mean, it's just, we're inviting people to come back at times. I mean, sadly, we truly are. But the guys were on that, did a great job. We've not seen that crew since, but that was in the back. That doesn't mean we don't respond to it. We get over there immediately. What we did do immediately was we actually did have 2 officers working that night, checked all of our residents back through there. And the late watch guys are putting patrol notices in mailboxes if you leave your garage open, which is another big problem that we have at different times. We had one that was open over on Westover, and it was the second time we put a patrol notice in that mailbox. And the other one was still left in there, to be quite frank, but they're home. So we'll start putting some things out for that. Then it needs to be, people are going to have to adhere to that at some point, or we're inviting people to come back out. But that's it. But the traffic enforcement is up. The guys have done a fabulous job. They've done very well.
And just in reviewing the report, it says that 1 year ago, there were 9 citations or warnings issued. This year, in the month of October, there were 74 versus 9.
Guys have done a great job. They
Very
really have. They've refocused their efforts. I'm not saying November's going to be like that, but we'll see. The guys been trying, putting the effort in. We're just a little short right now.
If you'll please pass along how much
Absolutely.
I appreciate that, and I know the
Yep.
members of the council appreciate it as well.
Absolutely. We enjoy it. Thank you.
That's great, thank you. Okay, any questions for Tony?
Tony. is
Yes.
Third shift covered. We lost an officer.
Do what?
Third shift covered.
Yes. Yep. We're spreading out. Guys are moving around different shifts, but we're good. We'll cover it.
So we've noticed the monitor keeps coming on and off. Ron advises me that there's no problem with the WebEx. It's just the monitors that are presenting the problem. So I think, Sarah, we see you. We need you to keep your camera on.
I got you. I'm still here.
Good, we appreciate it. Have you been able to follow along, or are you getting cut off?
No, my audio is clear.
There's your answer.
I'm good. I hear you.
I think we need to be careful.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we hear you fine.
Okay, good. Sorry.
Gotta have the video.
Yep. Okay, we'll move into unfinished business. Next item on the agenda is second reading of ordinance 645, 2024, an ordinance relating to the amendment and modification of chapter 114, regulating the distance between packaged liquor stores. Packaged liquor sales, this reads. So is there a motion to give that ordinance a second reading?
I'll move it second.
Second.
Okay, Mr. Clark made the motion. Ms. Hines seconded.
No, I'm second. You can't see her, so that makes a question about whether it's.
Yeah, well, we see her now.
Yeah, but it keeps on going off.
Yeah, well, I'm looking at the laptop. It's right here and I see her.
Yep, and then it goes off.
She is available. She
Okay.
is visible
So
on
is
the tape.
there, so there's been a motion and a second to give this ordinance a second reading. Is there discussion? Any questions or comments on this? If not, are we ready to vote? Mr. Gibson?
Yes.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Holmes? Yes. Mr. Clark?
Yes.
Mr. Coulter?
Yes.
Okay, that ordinance is now approved. Oh, Sarah, I'm sorry, Sarah?
Yes. It's a yes.
Sarah?
Yes. Yes. I'm yesing it.
All right. The next item on the agenda is new business. That's a first reading of ordinance 646, 2024. This has to do with compensation of council members effective on January 1, 2027. So is there a motion to give this ordinance a first reading?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. Is there discussion?
No.
Mr. Fulcher?
When this first came up, I spoke against it. And I'm concerned with all of the whereas. I don't think that there's sufficient factual support for most of those things. And to make it short, we're here as representatives of the residents. And I can't envision a scenario where this is to the benefit of the people. So that's.
Okay. Is there other discussion?
I'd like to hear somebody speak for the other side of that
So,
issue. There is another side.
yeah, so, the changes that have been made was based on Frank and our attorney telling us that we couldn't bring it up. It had to be brought up before May, be effective in December of 2025.
Understand that.
Yeah, okay,
The
so
issue is whether we should do it at all.
I understand that. So, Frank at the last time talked in terms of, indicating that there was potential for some of the Kentucky League of Cities studies to show that some of them could have been commission forms, and therefore the amount that they were paying their council people was different, higher because they were in commission positions. I went through and rechecked all that, and there were several of them in the list that Kentucky League of Cities had provided to us that were that way. If you take those out of the number that Kentucky League of Cities have gotten for cities that are smaller than Prospect, 80% small, they're 1,000 population. The average that they're paying is $476 a month to their council. So we're in essence cutting ourselves short in terms of that. I think it's also part of the reason that this has been brought up is because we've got a council that doesn't completely represent the population of Prospect. We've got all these young people coming in, moving in to Prospect. The majority of us, with the exception of Sarah, are retired. That doesn't change in the new council. We'll have one person who is gainfully employed in a full-time position in the new council. I'm not saying that the council isn't a good council. The people who are on the council are, but we've got a group where the vast majority of us are all retired individuals and not representative of the people who are employed and younger than we are. It's interesting to look at the fact that 2 years ago, the council raised the salary from $100 a month to $250 a month. And we got 11 people running for council that year, right after that. This year, after having inflation affect the amount of money that we're paying council members each month, we have 8 people. We have less people running for council now than we did 2 years ago after they had given the raise. So to me, it is something about trying to have a more representative council down the road. This won't go into effect until January of 2027 for legal reasons. But I think we need to do this to generate more interest. The people who are gainfully employed, taking their time away from their families, need to have some kind of incentive to do that. And monetary incentive is certainly one way of going about doing that. And that's my thought process.
And I've mentioned this before, I'll mention again, I strongly support this change in the compensation of our council members. I've been involved in encouraging people to run for the council. And it is a lot of people say no. And that's the first reaction. So I think creating a more appealing compensation package or structure would help with recruiting people to run for council. So I just think it's time we move into the 2020s instead of the 1980s. So is there further discussion?
Yeah, back in, it's mentioned the 1980s, this going forth a little bit about the good old days. I was the mayor from 81 to 82. And I had the same experience that you just described in spades. I couldn't get 6 people to run for council. Now, in those days, we didn't. And I don't know if that adds anything much to what you've already said, but that's the way it was. Like, we didn't pay the mayor either. It was like being president of PTA or something.
Well, we've got close to a 4 million. Is there further discussion?
No, one more. I don't feel that people motivated by money can possibly represent the people if that is their only motivation. And if they need more money, if that drives them to need more money, maybe they want to be a politician, let them run for mayor. That's where all the money is.
Frank, I think in my thoughts, I don't think it's a sole motivator. I think it's trying to stay commensurate with other, well, not even like cities, smaller cities. And then to David's point, if we're really wanting a council that represents the true demographics and drawing in some of these, individuals with younger kids that, try to balance full-time jobs and have little ones, shorties running around, that it is a factor. Now, I don't think anybody's going to do it solely based on money, but it is a factor that I think assists in taking their time away from their family or other sets of responsibilities. So, and once again, if we kind of look at this, we're jogging out a couple of years. So is 250 by 27 going to be, I don't think that's going to be very relevant either. So I think that we're kind of future-proofing our path and our road as we go forward. And I think that's important for us. So that's just my thoughts.
Okay. Is there further discussion?
I think that our compensation needs to be comparable to other cities of our size. This appears to be pretty fair, based on the information you've gotten from League of Cities.
All right, we're ready to vote. Mr. Fulcher?
No.
Mr. Clark?
Yes.
Mr. Holmes?
Yes.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
And Mr. Gibson?
Yes.
So, and Ms. Hines?
Yes.
So if I think we're 4-2 in favor, is that correct? 5-1. Okay, 5-1. So, hey, it's approved. Do we need to read something? Second
Yes.
reading.
Yes. We need to do.
First reading, I'm sorry.
We need to do the first reading too, on the first one. We didn't do the first.
Second.
Yeah.
Second.
Yeah, we
On the second,
reading.
David, will you do the first reading on the compensation ordinance?
City of Prospect, Kentucky ordinance number 646, series 2024. And the ordinance chapter 32 of the Prospect, Kentucky Code of Ordinance regarding compensation for council members for the city of Prospect, increasing the compensation from $250 to a month to $500.
Okay. And then, so we didn't do the actual reading, the second reading earlier ordinance, is that correct?
Yeah, we did.
Did not.
Yeah.
Okay. That's the packaged liquor store.
Yeah, you did. John did. Go ahead.
City of Prospect, Kentucky ordinance number 645, series 2024. An ordinance relating to the amendment and modification of chapter 114, regulating distance between packaged liquor sales.
Okay. Is there any further business to come before the council? It's not as.
Motion to adjourn.
Sarah, get home safely.
Thank you so much, David. Appreciate it. You all take care. You drive safely too.
Oh, I'll mention, since we've had trouble with the WebEx this evening, I'll mention that is that what you're talking about? we're looking at improving the PA system within City Hall, but also our WebEx connection. We're also getting a better fiber connection. So I think hopefully we'll move forward in the coming year. The quote that we've gotten is quite expensive, over $50,000. So we're going to put it out to bid, and we'll hopefully get some numbers that are much more reasonable.
Yes. You just had one vote on the ordinance to raise the compensation, and that's fine. The law on it is that you only have to have one vote. Now, what a lot of councils do and what you've always done in the past is you had a vote as to whether or not you would call it for a first reading. Then you had another vote for a reading, but you didn't do that tonight.
Yeah, we'll,
You just had one vote.
we'll put it
Okay.
like we normally do.
I think it's totally legal the way you did it tonight.
Okay. Appreciate
But it's
that.
different from what it's done in the past, is what I'm saying.
All right. Mr. Fulcher, I think, made a motion to adjourn earlier.
He seconded.
Mr. Clark, second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
We are. adjourned.
Aye. Thank
Thanks,
you.
Sarah.
Bye, you
Safe
all.
travels.
Safe travel.
Got it. Bye-bye.
Yeah, she's. She was supposed to, she was supposed to arrive here at 6 o'clock. Something got messed up.
Okay.